All right, man, peace. So, you know what, brothers, when this entire LeBron James NBA China fiasco was first brought to the forefront to the public consciousness, the first thing that I thought to myself was, number one, what is LeBron going to say when they finally get a microphone in front of his face? And number two, what is Shannon Sharp James going to say on television about LeBron James finally getting exposed? So, of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
LeBron James spoke to the media yesterday for the first time since Daryl Morey's October 4th tweet made headlines. LeBron declined to comment about the politically tense situation in China right now, but did talk about how Morey's tweet has affected the relationship between China and the NBA, its owners, teams, and players.
I don't want to get into a word or sentence feud with Daryl. Morey, but I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand.
Well, LeBron, we both know that Daryl Morey is not going to get into a war of words with you because he's basically been put on ice right now by Adam Silver and Tillman Fertitta. He's not allowed to go back and forth with someone of your stature. Me and you both know that.
And he spoke, and so many people could have been harmed. Not only financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually. So just be careful what we tweet and we say and what we do, even though, yes, we do have freedom of speech, but there can be a lot of negative that comes with that too.
Now, LeBron was immediately met with criticism and went on Twitter to add context to his comments and, quote, clear up the confusion, adding that he is not discussing the substance of the situation. So, Shannon,
because the substance of the situation is trumped by the monetary aspect of the situation. That's the point of him saying that. The reason why he's not going to speak about the validity of the protesters in China is because it's not relevant when viewed in contrast to what's really important, that being the dollar bill.
Do you like that he said this?
Hell no. Skip, I have to be honest with you. There's some strain in our relationship right now in the LeBron James, Shannon Sharp household. Savannah, the kids, they basically know that there's a detente. We're at peace pretty much. But there's a lot of stress that has been placed on our relationship because, Skip, between me, you, Jenny, and the 10 million viewers, about a week and a half ago, I got a call on my phone. I was in the jacuzzi, and I heard the ringtone that I have set for LeBron, which is Beyonce, put a ring on it. Don't ask me why I have that ringtone, mind your business. I picked up my phone. I said, hello, baby, what's up? I heard a muffled voice on the line. I said, what's wrong with you? He told me he's in a basement somewhere in Shanghai with a handkerchief tied around his mouth and a sock stuffed in his mouth. He can barely talk because he was being tortured by the Chinese special forces. I said, what are you talking about? He said that he's being held hostage and that if he was not freed, that he didn't know what was going to happen to his life. I said, baby, do what you do best. Sell out. Snitch. Do whatever you got to do to get out of that situation. And when you get back to America, when they put a microphone in front of your face, you say what you got to say. Don't do anything to offend China. That's why I told him. I have to admit, Skip, I'm embarrassed. I don't quite know who it is that I'm with right now. He also told me that they took that do-rag off of his head and they were dripping one drop of water on top of that bald spot on top of his head. They were utilizing Chinese water torture on that bald spot, Skip. So I already knew he was going to crack. So I said, baby, it's okay. Stop crying. Because he was blubbering. I said, stop crying. Put whoever torturing you on the phone. Come to find out, Skip, it was Jackie Chan. They had Jackie Chan torturing LeBron James in the basement somewhere in Shanghai. I couldn't believe the shit. I said, baby, don't worry about it. Just come home. When you get on the flight, let me know. When you land, me and Savannah, the kids, come pick you up. But no, I don't like what he did because it seemed very cowardly at the end of the day. But he had to do it.
I don't, and Skip, I would have thought the Daryl Morey tweet was 11 days old. So LeBron James had 10 days to think about, contextualize, and come to how he want to verbalize his response, knowing, excuse me, that he was going to get asked this question.
Skip, that's what I told him when he came back home. When he landed, I said, I know for a fact that you have written out what you're going to say to the press. I know that you practiced it because I told you to practice it. I know that you're not going to try to say some shit on the fly and fuck with our money and our family.
And what we didn't show is that LeBron says that you guys, you know me, follow my career, you know that normally when I speak on a topic, I'm informed, I'm educated.
Really? Like what? Can we name some topics that LeBron James has spoken on where he was informed and educated? Just name one. Even with police brutality, was he informed or educated on that? Or was he just speaking off the cuff because he knew that he could be woke on a topic pertaining to something of that nature?
And that's how I approach it. Okay, he says he's not going to speak on this topic because he hadn't followed it that closely, so he's not informed, he's not educated. So if you're not informed and you're not educated, how do you get to call someone else uninformed, uneducated?
Easy. When that person making the topic is fucking with his money. Because that's what he's concerned with, Shannon Sharpe.
Because for you to call someone that, you need to be educated.
Unless he's speaking from a different perspective than you think he's speaking on. You believe that when LeBron James states that Daryl Morey is uneducated, that he's speaking in reference to the protesting. That's not what he's speaking in reference to. He's talking about the business deal. He's saying that Daryl Morey had no understanding on how what he would say would impact the revenue stream of so many athletes in the NBA.
Said topic.
That's what he called the substance of it.
Right.
Yes.
For me, and I think where he got the blowback, the thing that separated LeBron James from Michael Jordan
was championships, success, defense, and a lot of other things.
And LeBron James would take a stance.
I agree.
And did not care about the financial impact.
This is part of the simplicity of the modern day liberal sports fan, which is what Shannon Sharpe is. He just stated that the difference between LeBron James and Michael Jordan is that LeBron James would take a stance and not be worried about the financial blowback. The reason why LeBron James can quote-unquote take a stance today and not be worried about the quote-unquote financial blowback is because of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the person who gave LeBron James a mark to shoot for. Michael Jordan was making $30 million 20 plus years ago when no one else was making anywhere near that. Michael Jordan created the corporate paradigm of receiving revenue from companies apart from the league that you work for so that you could subsidize your income in a way that you would not have to work in the off season, not be worried about what you were going to do after you retired, etc. So that's the reason why LeBron James can act woke and talk about topics and not be worried about the blowback, because his bank account is taken care of due to the blueprint that was created by Michael Jordan. That's what people like you do not understand for some reason, Shannon Sharpe, and it's because you're a fanboy.
And then in this situation, he said it could impact financially, emotionally, physically.
In other words, Shannon Sharpe, what is he saying? He's saying that this situation could fuck with his pockets. The other times that he spoke out, there was no real threat to his revenue stream or his income. That's what he's about, Shannon Sharpe. This situation happened so that people like Shannon Sharpe and Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd and Max Kellerman would be forced to acknowledge that how they tried to cast LeBron James and the light in which they attempted to view him was a light that was not accurate. It did not show all of the flaws in LeBron. And it's very difficult for some of them to deal with this, but I give credit to Shannon Sharpe for at least speaking honestly about the situation, at least as honestly as he can appraise it.
Just spiritually. Go ahead.
That's where the pushback came from. It's like, hold on, wait a minute, Bron. You don't think when you took the stance about Trayvon Martin that someone stopped wearing LeBron shoes? You don't.
He doesn't care because the money that he was receiving from Nike was guaranteed. So he was not concerned about the impact that speaking about Trayvon Martin or wearing a hoodie was going to do to impact his career. And at the end of the day, what did he really say about that Trayvon Martin situation that was not being stated by the vast majority of people? Even Stephen A. Smith said in the aftermath of LeBron, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, and Dwayne Wade standing on stage at the ESPYs and talking about what they were going to do for social issues and things of that nature, even he stated, what exactly have any of these guys done that has put them in the line of fire? What have they stated that could have brought about the ire of the media? They've never said anything that was contrary to what the mainstream media wanted them to say until LeBron James right now. Now he's starting to understand what it means to really be at the bullseye or at the forefront of a topic, of a storyline, of a narrative, where he's forced to say things that's going to make people change how they view him.
When you got on stage with Hillary Clinton, because if you think everybody that LeBron, you know, there are Republicans and people that like President Trump that bought LeBron James shoes. So anytime you...
Right, but there's a difference between worrying about what the consumer thinks and worrying about what your sponsor thinks, Shannon Sharp. You have to grasp that, bro. To put it in proper context, there's a difference between you being concerned about what someone who watches Undisputed thinks about you as opposed to what the bosses at Undisputed think about you. That's why when you first got hired and the show started to be recorded, in one of the initial episodes, one of the first things that you saluted Skip Bayless for is allowing you to speak your mind on racial issues. What did that imply? That implied that if Skip Bayless told you off camera, we don't want you to go there on racial topics, you would have ceased.
Stance.
Yep.
It's not going to be popular with everyone.
Yep.
But that didn't bother him. This situation seemed to have bothered him for some reason.
Yep.
For some reason, Shannon Sharp, brother, you're a very smart person. For you to act like you don't know why this bothered him. Is there a difference between the people who write your checks as opposed to the people who are the beneficiaries of your talent? I'm sure that you understand that. LeBron knows that anyone who's offended by most of the statements that he makes are either going to get over it in the long run or probably don't matter in the long run anyway. Who's buying LeBron James sneakers here in America? Kids. Grown people don't walk around with LeBron James sneakers on. So how is any statement that he makes about President Donald Trump going to affect his bottom line that much in America?
We know the reasons. Yeah, we know that the financial... China spends a lot of money with the NBA. 10%. We were reading 10% and they say in the next 10 years it's going to go up to 20%.
And Skip Bayless. That's why I told Bron, make sure, and look, this is going to hurt you. Okay? Initially, it's going to hurt you, it's going to hurt me. Because I got to argue with that old white man every morning. But make sure that you don't fuck with this money. Say what you got to say.
He mentioned he's going to China.
And stop crying.
15, 20 times.
Yes.
Not only him, all these KD, Steph Curry, James Harden, Russ, all these guys are big international. We got over 1 billion people over there. 3 times the population of the U.S. So you can understand the influence the favor that they curry with the NBA.
Yep.
Not just because of population, but because of the economic power as well.
But I don't like this, Skip. I don't like that. Yeah, anytime you say something, your words have consequences. But Daryl Morey, and I'm not, like I said, I'm, you know, what Daryl said about the democracy and China and Hong Kong, a lot of people don't know it, so I don't want to get into the minutia up underneath this, Skip.
Yeah, Skip, I don't want to get too particular, because you might not know this, but I have a PhD in Chinese foreign affairs. I also speak fluent Mandarin as well as Cantonese. I know how to understand when a very attractive woman walk up to me and say $5 sucky sucky in numerous languages. Your boy is on it.
Disagree with LeBron said for this. If you're not informed on a topic, if you're not educated on a topic, don't say someone else is uninformed or uneducated.
Right, but once again, Shannon Sharp, he's not speaking from the two-dimensional narrative that you're speaking about. He's talking about the financial implications. And I'm pretty sure that you know that. If you don't grasp that, I'm also pretty sure that LeBron probably texted you that night to inform you on what the ramifications were.
You don't agree with what they said. Just say, hey, that's Daryl's stance. I don't agree with it, and keep it moving.
Yep.
But when you say he's uninformed, he's uneducated on the topic, and then says, you know, a lot of people, and hey, I don't.
Because Shannon Sharp, he was scared. That's the real crux of the issue. That's why he stated this could affect us physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. He was scared to death over there in China that someone was going to kick down his door. Some Chinese secret police were going to hit his front door with a battering ram and take him hostage because he thinks that he's that important.
That could happen. I don't think China wants, you do something to the basketball team.
Yep.
Because we're already, China and U.S. is already going here. We got a trade war going on.
Hey, Skip. When LeBron called me from that basement and I said, baby, you okay? He said, what's going on? He said, no. He said, Kyrie Irving's right next to him. And I asked LeBron, does Kyrie know what part of the world he's in? LeBron said Kyrie said no because the world flat. I said, you know what? Deal with him. I'm talking to you.
Think that they're intellectual property thieves. So the last thing that China wants to do is do something to some of our most important public figures, athletes, and have it blow up on a world stage.
If you think that China was even thinking about doing something to one of the NBA basketball teams, holding them hostage, they would never even think about doing that. They're a superpower. Superpowers think differently when they're dealing with assets from other superpowers. America is a militaristic superpower. China is an economic superpower. Any war that China and the U.S. engage in is going to be an economic war. It's going to be a quote-unquote trade war. It's never going to be a military-driven war, because that's going to lead to nuclear holocaust. That's it. There's far too much on the line for anything outside of barbs exchanged and maybe tariffs that are levied. That's it. China's not going to stop any of these United States sports teams from leaving their country.
I'm going to disagree with LeBron. And Skip, I don't disagree with LeBron very often.
You don't.
But in this situation...
Yeah, Skip. Me and Bron have not had a big argument probably since he left Cleveland the first time. I said, do you know what this is going to do to your career? Are you okay with this? And then LeBron James showed me a photo of some of them big asses out there on South Beach. I said, okay, nigga, let's do it. That's why I said, let's do it.
I'm going to have to disagree, and I don't like what he said. I don't like the way he verbalized it. And he tried to clarify it, and I get what he's saying, but it didn't come out right. And I thought that...
No, it came out exactly how it was supposed to come out. LeBron James knew there was not going to be a delicate way in which he could communicate exactly what the issue is.
He'd have a better... he could have shaped it, framed it a lot better than what it came out.
Okay.
You should have written his speech for him, Shannon.
Once, ironically, I see what LeBron's trying to accomplish with his statement and his clarification tweet. And the problem here is everyone got thrown onto an incredibly slippery slope.
Correct.
And it's made of hypocrisy because...
That's what it's always been made of, Skip Bayless. And I'm pretty sure that you understand this, or you understood this as soon as it was revealed, because Skip Bayless, deep down, even though he gives LeBron a lot of credit for being quote-unquote socially conscious, he also knows that a lot of it is just based in brand building. He knows that LeBron is desperate to supersede Michael Jordan, and he'll do it by any means necessary.
Anything you say, wait a second, you're speaking out of which side of your mouth on that issue, right? So, to me, what LeBron was doing was speaking for a bunch of players, and this is the part I liked about it, who were so angry with Daryl Morey for tweeting what he did just ahead of their trip to China.
Right.
And also so scared of the possible ramifications of Daryl Morey tweeting what he tweeted. Because these guys, they don't understand foreign policy. I guarantee you a lot of them were scared that they were going to be detained by the Chinese.
LeBron's point was, you could have waited a week. Just wait until we're done to take your stand about Hong Kong. And he's trying to say, you made it so hard on us because you messed with our money. Right? That's what happened. Bottom line, Daryl Morey sort of unwittingly, I don't think he was thinking, what could I wreak here? What havoc could I wreak? But
you never know. You never know.
He messed with LeBron's money and all the players' money. Am I right?
Absolutely.
But let me ask you a question. If he waits a week, if he waits a month.
And Skip, I have to be honest with you. Yes, he did mess with all of our money, including mine. Because when he called me from that basement where he was being tortured with the water dripping on top of his head, when I spoke to Jackie Chan, I negotiated for his release. They said I had to send over one of my Super Bowl trophies. So it hurt me and my legacy also, Skip Bayless.
Does he still not mess with the players' money?
Maybe long term, but they were upset because they got thrown into the...
They were going to have to ask
the fire.
Questions.
Yes, where they're saying, we don't know enough. And again, I certainly don't know enough. I don't know if you know enough to talk about the substance of what's going on Hong Kong versus China. I don't. And LeBron saying...
It's not that difficult to figure out, though, Skip Bayless. Hong Kong at one time was under the authority of the British. They fell under the authority of the Chinese, meaning the Chinese mainland government, but they were still allowed, to some degree, to remain westernized. Now China is trying to bring them more into the fold.
I don't know enough, so I'm not going to take a stand on that. And the players were all offended that they got thrust into this position of having to comment on an issue they don't understand. That doesn't affect their day-to-day life, right? So LeBron is speaking not only for a lot of the players who wanted him punished. They wanted him punished. I don't know if that'd be suspension without pay, whatever. Hurt him where he lives, right? But
I guarantee you they wanted him fired. They understand that in order to appease the Chinese, Daryl Morey has to be fired. It's not going to happen immediately, because if it does, the NBA is going to lose series face. It is going to happen after this season, especially if the Rockets do not win the championship. He's going to get fired.
I might have even had the blessing of the commissioner on this one. Because he's trying to mend a fence. He's trying to say, is the greatest player we have today, the guy, the most visible, the most popular player we have today, he's trying to send a message back to China. Hey, one of our own messed up here. He was, however you want to say it, he was not educated enough. He was misinformed. And we're sorry about this, China. It's not our fault. It's his fault. Okay, that's what he's trying to send the message.
But let's not pretend we do know what's going on in China. Without getting into the details, we understand that.
To a degree, you understand it, Shannon.
But like you said, Skip, you're talking out both sides of your mouth now.
So
kudos to you for acknowledging that the man is talking out of both sides of his mouth, but in reality, he's not. If you know what he's been doing for the longest time, it's just him revealing who he actually is.
Now we had Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Rockets, immediately condemned the tweet, which was deleted, but it was up long enough.
Too late. It's gone. Screenshot it.
But he condemned it to the point that he said, we're not a political organization, the Houston Rockets. How about the Spurs? How about the Warriors? Are they political organizations?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are political organizations. And that's what's funny about this entire scenario. Steve Kerr was forced to basically just confess that he has no idea what he's talking about on most situations. Because if you don't really understand what's going on with a business partner of yours, how much can you be trusted to speak on situations that are domestic that you try to allege to know what's going on?
Head coaches have
very strong stances.
They have heavily criticized the President of the United States.
They have very strong guises. I wouldn't say that they have very strong stances. They have a very strong guise.
Freedom of speech. And again, Adam Silver says our league is built on freedom of speech.
Allegedly. Let one of these NBA players come out and proclaim that they're against homosexuality, lesbianism, the promotion of transgenderism, and they also believe that the WNBA is a waste of time and resources. And watch how quick he gets suspended, he gets fined, etc. So, are you in favor of freedom of speech when it's liberal, or are you in favor of freedom of speech, period? That's the real question.
Great with that, but there are ramifications to all of this. So now let's take it back to what the NFL went through with Colin Kaepernick. I was 1,000% behind the spirit of his protest.
Which was what? The promotion of chaos with no solution.
And for his protest. But initially, a bunch of the owners are like, uh-oh, is he going to mess with our money? Because he's choosing not to stand for the national anthem, and maybe some of our sponsors, if not our fans and our viewers, will take that personally. You don't love the United States of America because they won't get the spirit of the protest, the actual...
Because the spirit of the protest was nonsensical. If Colin Kaepernick was trying to execute a sensible protest, he would have been protesting outside of the governor's mansion in San Francisco. He would have been protesting in Washington, D.C., maybe right outside of the gates of the White House. For him to protest right before an NFL game, it was nonsensical. Nothing was going to come of it, and nothing has come of it.
Meaning of the protest. So remember, that was the initial pushback was, uh-oh, you're messing with our money now. We get, they don't even want to know about the issue because they don't really care about the issue because it doesn't really involve them. You made that point.
Yes, and LeBron James has made it clear that he does not care about the issue in China because it doesn't involve him. And isn't it interesting that so many wokety-wokes and pro-blackety-blacks who claim that the NFL owners should have been emotionally invested in the plight of so-called black people are the same ones who now claim that LeBron James should not care about what's going on in China. See, that's my issue with the wokey wokes and all these liberal people, period. They're all a bunch of fakers and hypocrites and actors. That's all they are. Me, personally, I've stated I don't mind LeBron not caring about what's going on in China, because in China, they don't give a shit about what's going on in the various so-called black neighborhoods and black communities in the Western Hemisphere, in America, etc. But I've also stated that the NFL owners have a right to not be concerned about what Colin Kaepernick alleged to be protesting over. Their job is to be concerned about making as much money as possible. The job of the players is to be concerned about making as much money from them as possible. So the real people that the NFL players should be blaming is their Players Association, which is the weakest of all the major professional sports in America.
1,000 times.
Correct.
Now, Colin was messing with his own money because he was risking a lot, and we saw what he lost, right?
And that's the thing, Skip. When you speak, when you words freedom of speech, or you have a protest, Colin Kaepernick had the right to protest.
Absolutely.
But you have to understand the ramifications that come along with your protest.
Exactly, which is the exact reason why you, Shannon Sharp, never joined him in the protests. You just appeared at a Denver Broncos game last week where your job was to hype up the crowd. Supposedly, you are one of Colin Kaepernick's biggest supporters, but you have yet to take a knee. You actually allowed the narrative and the storyline revolving around Colin Kaepernick to compromise your friendship with Ray Lewis. And to this day, you still have not taken a knee in fellowship of Colin Kaepernick. Why is that? Because you were using that entire narrative to build up your own profile on television and on social media.
And what? Subsequently, he's been whiteballed. So you have to understand, Daryl Morey, whatever your owner, Fertitta Tillman, decides to do with you, you must understand.
Consequence.
Whatever the NBA, if they decide to punish you, you must understand.
Agreed.
Those are ramifications that come along with that.
Okay. So, did the ratings or did some sponsors back out? Did it hurt the NFL's money originally, 2016, 2017?
Of course it did. Many people have tried to deny that the fall in the NFL ratings had anything to do with Colin Kaepernick, but clearly it did.
Never conclusively proven to me that it really hurt. But
allegedly. They've never proven conclusively that it hurt. Allegedly. People believe what they want to believe.
A lot of fear of it. The ratings did dip a little bit, but I'm not so sure it had
1 or 2 games and then.
Okay. So again, I'm not sure that actually had that impact that was feared.
Right.
But I get the fear because every time you do speak out, and now we got Popovich, Steve Kerr speaking out against the president. Well, is it messing with the NBA's money? Have some sponsors gotten a little queasy about that?
Right.
Maybe. Okay. So there are
fans.
Okay, some fans.
I mean,
some fans. Some.
I mean.
Well, the NBA is a very liberal league. They more so cater to the cities along the coast, the West Coast, the East Coast, a little bit of, the Gulf Coast and Florida and parts of Texas, New Orleans, of course, and Louisiana. But their constituency, their fan base is mostly liberal.
Everybody that goes to San Antonio games are not liberal or independent or Democrat. Or everybody that lives in California.
Pretty conservative area.
In Texas, you think they normally vote red. In California, don't think just because you live in California, everything is blue. Because it's not.
It's not.
Yes.
Okay, it's not. So, in the end, it's ironic again that I appreciate LeBron's just trying to mend a fence here for everybody's sake. And I'm not sure it's going to be successful because LeBron can be very outspoken.
Yes.
And sometimes I think he messes with his own money because
he does not mess with his own money. And right now you're contradicting yourself, Skip Bayless. This sentiment or this allegation that LeBron James is quote-unquote outspoken and it fucks with his own money, that is nonsense. He gets guaranteed money from Nike. He's getting paid on a guaranteed pay scale. That's why he says what he says. And the proof of that, once again, is this situation right here. When the rubber hits the road, he's going to take money over quote-unquote conscience.
Some stands that some people are not going to like, who are not going to buy his shoes or his products that he endorses.
And
Skip, I'm not going to lie to you. When this whole situation first went down, I said, baby, you have to understand what's going to happen. You're going to fuck with our money, possibly fuck with NBA money. So you got to stand up, make sure that you do what you got to do to get this money right. Okay? Stop talking all that shit. Right now, the media gonna turn against you. It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get through it as a family.
That was my point, Skip, is I think LeBron should know full well with the stances that he's taken on a lot of issues. Yeah. It's kind of like when, he takes a stand against police brutality. If somebody say, LeBron, you're not...
Does he really take a stand against police brutality? Does he really? What stand has he taken thus far against police brutality? They asked LeBron James about Tamir Rice, and he stated he could not speak on it because he didn't know enough about the issue. And I have no problem with him taking that stance. I have no problem with that. But once again, this notion that LeBron James stands up so much for police brutality and this and that, it's just nonsense.
When you're uneducated, you're like, come on, bro. I mean, really? But he says topics that he normally talks about, he's very passionate about. Yeah. Well, because he says, I'm not read up on this, I'm not versed in this. Not to say that he's not concerned about what's going on over there. It's just that
he's not. And I have no problem with that, honestly. I really don't. Certain cats might not like that. It is what it is. I have no problem with LeBron James not being emotionally or spiritually invested in what's going on in China, because at the end of the day, he's not going to change the political paradigm over there anyway. You have to know the battles that you can win. My issue has only been that LeBron James has tried to position himself as this global consciousness, and he's not that.
I haven't read up on this. I don't know. I'm getting ready to start a season. My mind, my grind is somewhere else. And so I totally get that. I just think the only problem that I got with what he said was that he said Daryl Morey was uninformed and uneducated. It's hard for you to say that just because you're not doesn't mean someone else.
Okay. And by the way, just in the big picture, Daryl Morey, who I've been around a little bit, he's a very smart guy.
Yes.
Now again, did he take a stance that hurt the league for which he works and the players?
Yes.
That who were playing for the Houston Rockets and others? Yes.
Yes, he did, and he's going to have to suffer the repercussions of that, because I think that this is going to be most likely the last nail in the coffin for Daryl Morey. Not only as the general manager of the Houston Rockets, but maybe for his tenure in the NBA. Because I think a lot of players are getting tired of the system that he forces them to play, or that he forces them to play through the coach Mike D'Antoni. He uses Mike D'Antoni as a shield, because Mike D'Antoni did not have his players playing like this in Phoenix, where one guy just had the ball dribble, and all this other nonsense. That's the Daryl Morey influence. Because the Phoenix Suns, yeah, they took a lot of threes, but they also took a lot of mid-range. So I think that this storyline, this narrative involving China, in combination with the Houston Rockets being ready to move on from Daryl Morey, is going to be his death knell.
I don't think he thought about them going over there. It's hard for me to believe that he doesn't know what China means to the NBA. I don't think he thought, well, you know what, Lakers and Brooklyn Nets about to head to China, let me send this. I don't think he thought that far, but he had to know the relationship that China has with the NBA. It's hard for me to believe that he didn't know.
He, of all people, understands it, because once again, he's the general manager of the Houston Rockets. So he understands China inside and out. The real issue is that he thought that his tweet was going to spur conversation that the star players in the NBA who were positioned in China were going to back him up on. I believe that Daryl Morey thought that LeBron James was going to have his back on this.
Hey, Skip.
I mean, it's possible he would know a lot more than LeBron would know about.
Yes, and he also knows that China is state-run, and so that changes the dynamic. Yeah. You can't say things about that like you can the USA, because democracy versus the other side. So, lesson learned. Right?
People expect to hear from LeBron, which is a blessing and a curse for
yes,
them, because
it is.
People do want to always hear
and
what he has to
Skip,
say.
They hang on every word.
Absolutely, Skip. When I saw LeBron at the press conference, I said to myself, I hope that LeBron delivers this message like how we practiced it. Because we did practice it. You know, unfortunately, he went off the cuff. He didn't really say what I told him to say. I wrote down a speech on a piece of loose leaf. I said, here, baby, study this. And he just went off on his own shit. I just didn't understand what was going on. But, you know, it is what it is. We're in counseling right now.
They're looking for him.
It is hard for him.
And you turn on social media, and even in the USA Today, they're crushing it.
Everywhere, Skip, my baby getting hammered.
Yeah. No matter what, people are listening.
But you know what? In the end, I still appreciate the stance that he takes.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
how outspoken he has
Yeah.
been. Right or wrong, good,
Yeah.
bad, pro, con, however
Yeah.
you view it.
Yeah.
Well, it's part of the LeBron James experience. He's always in the news about something. LeBron James is in the news more than any athlete I've ever seen that doesn't get in trouble with the law. I've never seen a professional athlete that finds himself in the news more than him who doesn't get in trouble with the law. It's unbelievable.
He will take a stand.
Yes.
He will speak for the players he feels
Yes.
that were damaged
Yes.
in this.
The thing that you can honestly say about him, Skip, nothing he says for me, I don't ever think is.
Skip, nothing that my baby ever feels is something that truly, truly disappoints me to the point where I'm ready to leave our family. And that's the most important thing. That's the most pivotal thing in life, is that when you make a commitment like myself, LeBron, and Savannah have made, that you support one another.
No,
I think everything he
No,
says
I agree.
comes from a good place.
I would agree.
Okay. All right. Let's leave it there for now.
But anyway, that's basically it on this storyline for now. So peace.